Hello again. Constant rate infusions. We're going to go back to the first one for a single pet, but we're going to try it now on a different drug, on fentanyl. And this is all for practice, so that's why we're picking different things. If we're doing this on a single pet, again, that means that I want to make sure just this one pet has the ability to use this bag of drugs. It's for nobody else. Now, why would I make a single pet bag of drug? Usually because this is somebody who's living in the ICU, not just for hours, but likely for days. Maybe this is a pancreatitis animal, and you know they're going to have pretty severe pain, and fentanyl is so very easily titratable that we can use this bag long-term for this patient and keep titrating it up and down as needed as we see signs of pain. So we go back to our rules and our calculations. First thing we have to worry about is the drug amount and how we get there, whether it be mgs or mils or both. So I need weight in kgs. So let's say this is our standard mini schnauzer, and we're going to say he is 8.4 kgs. So that's what I got, 8.4 kgs. Again, if you start with pounds, you're going to divide that by 2.2, and that will get you 2 kgs. So now I have my schnauzer, his kgs, and we're going to treat his pancreatitis pain. Now I need to choose what is my mg per kg per hour. What's my rate? And if we go to Plum, if we go to PayPitch, if we go to any formulary out there, they're going to tell you it's somewhere between 3 and 20 mic, not mig. Here's mig. Here's Mike, 1,000 times smaller. Or some people write it as the Greek letter U. Look at it, it looks like a U. I'm sure that's not what it really is. But Mike or Mike. Doesn't matter. Same meaning. But it's definitely not a MIG. So fentanyl is 3 to 20. And usually, if I'm going to start them off in the ICU on something, I need to hit their pain pretty hard. And I'm going to watch them. Obviously, we all do, but if I start at something like 7, a lot of you are probably clenching your butt cheeks right now. I get that. That's my own personal opinion to start higher, but I need to overcome the overwhelming pain that most of these animals are in. And once I get past it and I move through that wind up and I've gotten everything to calm down, then I can calm this number down to something closer to 5 or 3. I know 5 and 3 are pretty good numbers that most people run it at in the ICU, but I need to beat up his pain and I need it to happen. So, and if I choose 7, I can again titrate up or down. So we're picking that. And then we're going to take our kgs, which is 8.4, times our mg per kg per hour, which we said was 7, or mic in this case. This is mic. Again, as long as we're starting with mic and ending with mic, we can do our calculation just fine. And if we start with mig and we end with mig, we can do our calculation just fine. So mic per kg per hour, and then that's going to end up with mg per hour. So 8.4 times 7 will get us 58.8 mg per hour that I need. And then I'm going to take that mg per hour divided by the concentration. And fentanyl's concentration is 50 mic per mil. Again, concentration you can find on the bottle. So if I'm going to start with a rate from Plum that tells me it is mic per kg per hour, then I have to make sure my bottle says mic. So when I say we start with mic and we end with mic, it makes everything easier. Not that you couldn't convert, but it sure does make it easier. So in the last one when we were talking about morphine, the Plum told me what milligram per kg per hour to give it, and the bottle says milligram per mil as a concentration. It's just a heck of a lot easier when fentanyl comes as mics and the concentration and rates are all in mics. Makes a heck of a lot more sense. So we like that. Anyway, so now I'm taking my mic per hour, which is, still didn't write it right over here, 58.8, and we're dividing that by the concentration, which is 50. So we got 58.8 on my calculator divided by 50, and that's going to equal 1.176 mil per hour. So for every hour in this bag, I have to add 1.176 mils to make sure I am giving him the most accurate amount possible. Now you might be saying, 1.17 mils isn't something I can draw up. Cherie, why would you do that? Well, we haven't fully done our complete math yet, so that's okay. We are going to figure out what 1.176 mils is over many, 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 many hours, and then we're going to round once we have our final mil number. So the next part, number of hours in the bag or syringe. So I figured we would pick a syringe this time. Last time we picked a bag. Well, let's just pick a syringe this time so we can see what that kind of math looks like. And if I have a 60 ml syringe, and I'm going to run this, maybe I can only get 4 hours out of this syringe, and that's okay. Because as you know, after the first 4 hours of living in an ICU, you should be reassessing their status for fluid and blood pressure and other vitals and pain and fear. All of those things should be reassessed after the first 4 hours of any fluids and medications and just being generally in the hospital and seeing where you're at. So that's all good. We can do that. So then I'm going to make a smaller dose in a syringe so that I don't have to waste any of the drug should I decide later on I need a bigger dose, a smaller dose, whatever it is. We'll start off with a syringe this time. So how many hours are in that syringe? Well, I have to choose the size of my bag, or in this case, the syringe. I'll pick a 60 ml. And then what rate do I want that at? What rate would I like that at? So for this animal, I figure, what if we just do 5 mil per hour? Because that's a pretty tiny dose when it comes to giving the fentanyl, and it should not interfere with maintenance. So if somebody picked a maintenance rate on this dog of 120 for the first 4 hours, because we need to flush, and get the body to calm down, well, I know for a fact my 5 mils is not going to add or subtract from this total volume. Not really. I want to make sure that maintenance is taken care of, and then this can just be kind of a whisper of a dose of fluids. That way I don't interfere with, say, fluid overload. That would be bad. So if I'm choosing my rate, 5 mils an hour, now I can take my mils in my syringe this time, 60, and I'm going to divide that by this rate I chose, 5 mil per hour, as to not piss off fluid overload or anything else, but to make sure they're still getting their drug. And if I take 60 divided by 5, I should get 12 hours. And I really love that number because that's how long my shift is. So now I can work with my 12 hours and figure out what I need from that, and just have my, hopefully, one syringe that will work for this pet. Now that I've got my number of hours, now I can take that times my mil per hour I got up here to figure out, again, that total volume of mils I need. So I've got 12 hours total. I'm going to take that times 1.176. So let's do that. 12 times 1.176. And that equals 14.112 mil of fentanyl that I would need to add. Now, because that's the final dose, it would make sense to round at this point. So 14.112, that doesn't really round to anything, right? So let's just say it's 14 mils. Make it easy on you, make it easy on the Quebecs, make it easy on everyone. So that's what I'm going to add into my syringe. Now, If we are doing that, as you know, the QS, pretty important. I get excited about that. If I start off with 60 mils total, but the syringe this time is empty, right? It's not a 250 bag where I have to remove something and then add something. What I'm going to do first is, in that empty syringe, I am going to add my 14 mils of fentanyl. And then I'm going to add, I should say, the 60 should equal now, not minus, not add. 60 mils equal that 14 mils plus another volume of saline to get it up to 60. So you can do that. If you take 60 minus 14, I'm going to need 46. This mystery volume is 46 mils of saline to equal 60 mils. And again, I shake that up. I make sure to put a proper label on it. I run it through my line. Fentanyl is light sensitive, so put a brown bag around it. And then this is going to be run at that 5 mil per hour dose. And for every 5 mils, I know that is equivalent to 7 mic per kg. And that'll be running every hour, or kg per hour, I suppose you should say. So that's the same every single time. Perfect, wonderful, that's exactly what I wanted. Now, let's talk about those proportions again. If I needed it to run higher or lower, I can do that very easily, but you also have to record it. So what exactly am I running it at? What am I recording it at? Well, again, you already know that 7 mic per kg per hour is going to be the same as 5 mil per hour. Every time I run 5 mils, I'm actually running 7 mic. Okay, got it, perfect. So if we're going to cross multiply as we do opposites, it's times, and then straight across is divide. 7 times 6 divided by 5. And that goes up in the blank space here, 8.4 mic per kg per hour. All right, so let's say I did bump it up to 6 mils an hour to try to fight the pain. Great, but now I know that it's at 8.4 mic per kg per hour. So that's the math I have to do to make sure I'm recording this properly. Now let's say I have to go down, right? He's not having a good time on 7 mic. I maybe overshot the mark. That's okay. Again, across or opposites is going to be times, and across is going to be divide. So if I take 7 times 4 divided by 5, I'm going to get 5.6 mic per kg per hour. So now I know, I said I turned it down to 4 mils an hour, which is equivalent to 5.6 mic per kg per hour. And the dog, calmed down. He wasn't as dysphoric. He wasn't as narcotized. He wasn't as, obtunded, whatever you want to say. But you can keep doing that. You see, you can go up to 7, up to 8, up to 9, down to 3, down to 2, down to 1. But that's how you figure out if you're going to titrate. It's not good enough to just say, I moved it down to 6 mils. I moved it up to 12 mils. You have to figure out what is that concentration now you've changed it to. So I hope that helps.